All right. I think we are live. We are live. Awesome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of the product community, product people live stream events. I would just like to, we have a very interesting session here with us today. We have an amazing speaker with us, Jonathan, and we will be introducing very soon in this live stream as well. Before starting, I would like to just let everyone know that in today's session, there will be a Slido where we will be taking in questions and we will be taking in, well, asking questions and we will be taking questions as well from our audience. So I would encourage everyone to just have a quick scan of the Slido QR code. If not, you can also go onto the website and enter the code that will allow you to enter the poll as well, that we will be getting into very soon. Now, a quick introduction of or setting the stage for today's live stream. We are going to be talking with Jonathan Lundmark. He is the Senior Product Manager at EQT Group, and the topic is going to be scaling an MVP to enterprise-wide adoption and discussing the hidden powers of process workflows. Before we get into that, a very quick introduction about myself. My name is Mirza. I'm an associate product management consultant at Product People. 5 years of experience in product management and product operations management, primarily sticking with the startup space across the South Asian region and Europe. All right, quick introduction about Product People, what we do. Product People essentially is an interim product management, product operations, or transformation acceleration service. We provide this via our in-house staff. Many Product People details also about the staff as well coming up later in the slides. Essentially, this product management, product operations, transformation service is how we do what we do. And then to contribute back to the community, we have free events and we have talks such as this one. And we also have one of Europe's largest product management communities on our LinkedIn with over 60,000 members. I would encourage everyone to join if not joined already. Right. So we're very quick about what we do, and I want to get into the Slido. This is how we want to get to know you, feel the room, we'll have an idea. And this is a question that Jonathan will also love to know more about so we can get to know the audience. So the question is, how directly are you, the viewer, involved in organizational processes, workflows, approvals, general operations? How directly are you involved? Now, you can scan the QR code, you can enter the Slido code. We have a couple of answers here as well. Feel free to go in, let us know. This is going to allow us to get a better idea of the audience as well. If you are very involved, which means that you design your or own certain key processes, you are somewhat involved, you contribute to existing processes, you are minimally involved, which means that you are aware of processes in the organization but not actively part of them, or you're not involved at all, which means that it is not your domain to be working with workflows, approval processes, or operations. Now, we'd love to get some answers, get to know the audience. Again, feel free to scan the QR code. You can go to slido.com, you can enter the code there, and that should open up the question for you as well. We'll give it a couple of minutes till we get some answers. And that should give us an overview of the audience. All right, I think we have some answers. We're getting some answers in. I see that 63% of the audience is very involved in processes, in organizational processes. 25% somewhat involved, and 13% not involved at all. I see that we don't have many minimally involved answers, but that gives us an idea that a good chunk, the majority, more than the majority, is either very involved or somewhat involved. So that gives us a good idea that yes, we can cater to you, we can have that conversation to you, and I think that there would be a lot of benefit that you would pick up from this as well. All right, awesome. Keep that code handy. It will be coming in use later on in the session as well. Now, Jonathan, I would love to hand it over to you, right? Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan, scaling an MVP to enterprise adoption.
Thank you very much for that introduction. And yeah, very fun reading those results are interesting. It seems like a lot of you are part of processes, and I would even go so far to say that probably all of you are, even the ones that said that you aren't. We'll go into a little bit what the process is, the definition of that. But mainly we're here to for me to share how we transformed a custom-built internal tool, which might not have been the most easy sell, from an MVP to enterprise-wide adoption. You will learn about strategies to boost adoption in your own products. This is mainly an internal product, but some of these learnings are likely translatable to external products as well. And because that product itself happens to be a process workflow tool, I'll also share some of the powers the process workflows provide operationally, but also through the lens of product development. What powers do you get out of that? And that's why the initial question asked here, I think, is relevant for this talk. But before we dive into our learnings, like I work at EQT, I want to start with set the context here a bit, like who are we? It's important because you need to kind of understand adoption for us in relation to the size of our company. So we're a global company with close to 2,000 employees. We own about 2,000 buildings, 300 companies, and we have about 1,300 clients as of end of last year. Those are our investors. In total, we manage assets that are worth 269 billion euros. So simplified, you can see that as the total worth of our investments and money entrusted with us from our investors. Now, why do we do that? Why do we do what we do? We are a purpose-driven investment organization. We focus on active ownership, and that purpose is to future-proof companies, make a positive impact. We aspire to be the most reputable investor and owner. And how we achieve that, our mission is by creating superior return for our investors. Now, it's quite a mouthful here. So going beyond the buzzwords in this forum, simply put, we buy companies and assets that we actively develop to increase their value in order to return more money to investors. An example of how we make a positive impact while doing so is by carefully choosing where we invest and also how we develop assets for long-term sustainability, future-proofing. What does it mean to future-proof companies? Well, one thing to survive the recent and the coming ages is through digitalization, of course, where we assess digital maturity in the companies we invest in and we elevate it, of course, including strategies for AI. How can we preach, though, if we are not digital leaders ourselves? That was the realization. And long ago, we decided that we need to eat our own dog food, if you will. We need to use best-of-breed technologies, be as digitally mature and innovative as one can be. And of course, this required us to attract and retain top tech talent from tech companies across the world. I think we've succeeded with many of my colleagues today coming from tech companies like Google and Spotify and other well-renowned tech firms. But then looking at ourselves, like how do we future-proof ourselves? What do we do? How do we achieve that? What you see here on this slide is our growth from 1994, when EQT was founded, until today, represented by the total value of our portfolio. So in 2018, two things happened. One was the theme of the year was everything that can be automated should be automated, making a push for automation across the firm. Coincidentally, this is where I joined, and I thought would be a good place to introduce myself. So you're probably wondering, who is this guy talking over here? My name is Jonathan. I started as a software engineer. I made a pivot into product development, where I today manage a product area that we call process digitalization at EQT. And I know what you're thinking, like, what a guy. Look at that hockey stick growth ever since I joined. And as much as I want that to be true, it's of course not. So why do I put my face in there? It's because, one, I was part of figuring out how to translate that company-wide vision of kind of automating as much as possible. And secondly, I experienced that growth that we had from tech organization, but also product perspective. So automation, what do you do with that vision? Where you kind of go to the drawing table, all right, let's figure this out. It sounds pretty easy, right? To be fully transparent, we started by we just built automations in-house, case by case. I'm very glad we paused for a moment, looking ahead with that kind of hockey stick growth in mind, our growth ambition, because you cannot build kind of reliable automation without structured, trustworthy, and also consistent data. From where do you get that data? Well, data typically comes from processes. So you generate data in process that in turn enable automation, where you automate activities that are part in a process, and it goes around. Garbage in, garbage out. So let's start with our processes first. This realization, it changed how we organize. It had a profound impact on us as a firm and our tech department. So within tech, we shifted focus from functional teams to end-to-end product teams, centered around our core end-to-end processes, mainly around client and our investment life cycles. Then we have platform teams addressing shared needs or like shared problems across all processes. That's where my domain comes in, process digitalization. And we started looking at shared pain points across all these processes, regardless of which domain. So a small amount of context left here is like, what is a process? It's a sequence of activities, typically producing data in systems, leading up to some kind of outcome. Many of our processes, regardless of business domain, used to be email and Slack based. I'm sure you are familiar with that. You kind of, how it goes is, you want something, you reach out to someone, that person in turn might reach out to someone else, you get to some kind of outcome, and often involving links to other resources, comments, print squeeze, and so on. What does it mean to work like this? It means sad office worker, sad employee, sad consultant, sad anyone in these processes, because there is no workflow visibility or indication of progress. It means having to ask for update or go fish in your inbox. It means no audit trails over what's been done and when, which makes it very hard to perform root cause analysis of process delays, and even to analyze and say, like, how healthy is this process? How is it working out well? No standardization. That means that the process can change depending on who is involved, usually involving dependencies on specific individuals. People can be sick, all the problems that come with that. Information is also unstructured when related to standardization. Free text flying around in inboxes and in communication tools like Teams and Slack. There are a lot of backs and forth due to not including the necessary information up front. And it's also what I said before, like no reliable automations or analytics can be done because you need consistency in data here. The more people involved in a process, the more evident these problems become. It doesn't scale very well. So if you're a small startup, it might fly, just talking about everything. But at this point in time, that hockey stick growth I showed you was ahead of us. We anticipated it, so we needed to ensure our process could scale. What could we do? This is where workflows for us came to the rescue. The basics of how it works, because there are a lot of tools out there that you can explore if you're interested in looking at this. But the basics is the first kind of user group are requesters, people that want something. What they do in a workflow platform is that they provide information needed to fulfill a request, like typically by filling in a form with the necessary information to fulfill that request. The second user group are doers. So once a requester kind of kicks off a process or wants something, asks something with kind of provided data, the second user group are doers. So the people that kind of make this thing happen, whatever it is. They receive that information, they collaborate, driving this process to completion, typically following a sequence of predefined tasks. That's sort of the process, how it looks like. And that's the workflow part, the sequencing of activities to perform. The third user group are process owners. These people are typically not as operational as doers, but they are responsible for outcomes and performance of this process. They oversee, they analyze performance processes. So with a setup like this for your process, you get powers that you didn't have before. The powers you get are: one, standardization. The data needed to fulfill the request is made mandatory to provide in order to submit the request. That ensures that no critical data is missed, meaning no more back and forth. Standardization is also achieved for the doers through sequencing process activities, which need to happen in order to fulfill the request. Workflow visibility, it's now clear for both the person that wants something and everyone involved in making it happen where you are in the process, which means there is no more need to kind of ask for updates or check in. When it comes to process insights, as users now kind of complete process activities in a workflow, you get data on what's been done and when. That is really powerful because process volumes, workload distribution, performance are things you can start to kind of measure and see. It makes it easy to pinpoint process bottlenecks serving as a prioritization need, both with business stakeholders, but also product managers kind of seeing what to improve. Where are we kind of slow, or what's the holdup? Maybe you built a process automation or you bought a new system that speeds up an activity even outside of this platform, right? You'll then be able to see how many compound days are we saving now as a result of that change without having to implement any kind of new mechanic for that. So using workflow data, you get success metrics for free for things happening throughout processes in the firm. That is very powerful to me. Full audit trail. You can also see what's been done, in which order, and what context it relates to. That's been helpful when you do root cause analysis, kind of understanding what went wrong. If there's an incident in a process, for instance, you can see what led up to that outcome. So you might have learned about some powers you get from process workflows. We made a decision back then to try this concept out, and how are we going to get adoption on something like this? So do you think that's an easy sell? Like, what if someone came to you and said, let's work more process-oriented and standardize our work. Let's lay it out in steps. What would your reaction be? Like, imagine this scenario for a second. Would it be yummy? I love it. And like, really, for many people, this is not the most exciting thing, right? You might just want to do your work. I've heard some people, they see their work as a kind of an art form. It's not a process. So yet, fast forward to today, we did achieve enterprise-wide adoption. What started as an idea for us is now a custom-built user-facing platform, both for internal users and external collaborators. It's a little bit of vanity metrics showing here, but I think they do give a sense of adoption, at least. And we have 190 processes live. 2,000 of these are being triggered, like initiated every month. 12,000 automations were triggered last year throughout these processes. That in turn, of course, leads to time saved, but it depends on which automation was. But just to show kind of adoption here, I think this is an important show. And the data that is generated within our workflow platform has even enabled 7 completely new applications outside of our platform, built by other teams. So that's been made possible by the structured data that we capture in workflows. So we enable 7 completely different new applications that all create value in their specific ways using the data we get from these processes. And our CSAT score, so kind of the customer satisfaction score here, last year was an average 8 out of 10, which we are currently working, of course, getting to a 10. But I think this proves that adoption wasn't forced on top of our users. And these adoption metrics are quite significant, accompanying our size. Now I go through next what we did to get here, some challenges we had, and some learnings along the way. Our journey here starts with a buy versus build assessment. So
Technical error. I'm sorry, everyone. I think we've lost Jonathan here. Probably some technical difficulties. Um, we'll see if we can get him back. Oh, this is a new one. We haven't had this in a very long time. All right. I think we have him back.
Sorry?
Hello, Jonathan. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I think, yeah, I'll hand it back over to you. You may carry on.
Oh, where did I stop?
Uh, just maybe go one slide back.
Did we cover this? Can anyone write in the chat? Was this in the stream? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, right here.
Okay, we'll move on. So then, buy versus build assessment. This is where our journey starts. And there are a lot of tools out there that you can look into. I won't go through all the requirements that were important to us, but I'll rather focus on what's relevant for any product. And the pros with building is it's flexible. It's 100% adapted to our needs. It's easy to integrate, and our tech landscape has shifted a lot over the years. So being able to integrate where needed to and to quickly adapt to those changes fast is very important for us, since since things move very quickly. And the cons are it's slower before it can be used. Of course, it requires a quite tech-savvy department. You need to have software engineers, the resources required, and usually there's quite a lot of plumbing involved as well, kind of getting all the infrastructure up to be able to do this in a way that's sustainable and kind of long term. But and also one thing here that is typically or often overlooked is like involvement from the organization. You can't just buy you need to involve stakeholders from the business outside of the tech as well to kind of shape the direction of the products. So it's quite an investment, is what I'm trying to say. But buying quicker to get going. Many problems have already been thought about and solved, and also future innovation and product maintenance is usually included in as part of the package. So cons, however, with buying is that it's opinionated. Instead of the tool adapted to us, we need to adapt to the system that we buy. Counterparties, they lack company context to truly know what's the best thing for us to use or not. We can try to influence given our size, but we are not in control of the roadmap. And then there's always a risk of kind of vendor lock-in, right, to consider. So when we took our product requirements and looked at what was available on the market at the time, the workflow tools out there were either too large and clunky with that Windows 95 feeling that we all love, or on the other side of the spectrum, it was very lightweight, often lacking kind of long-term analytics capabilities. But what did we do? And I fear now I'm going to give away my background in consulting, a third option, which is blend. Instead of doing one or the other, we went with blend, picking the raisins from both cakes. It turns out we had a ticketing tool that tech support used called Zendesk. Now in Zendesk, requests can be created and assigned teams with collaboration and notification functionality already in place. We started building where we had gaps. First out was a simple but modern feel web app where users could go to find the right process to initiate, fill in the form and submit. What the requester did not see is that we just created tickets in Zendesk in the background, automating which teams were looped in. So the takeaway here is like, for any internal MVP, it's not necessarily a buy versus build for an entire solution. Consider adding blend to such an assessment to ensure building what differentiates your product while reusing partial or full existing solutions. This approach enabled us to quickly launch an MVP putting something that worked in the hands of our users early to start collecting feedback as early as possible. As we built the minimum viable products, we were also thinking about which process should we pilot. And I'm just going to check in here to see if the stream is live because it was disrupted. Is it still on? Okay, good. Sorry for that. Great. So where to start? We have a lot of manual processes. An example of a simple process is ordering a new laptop. Like, who should I contact? What am I allowed to order? PC or Mac? Some backs and forth. Getting a manager's approval. Few activities, small challenges. Or a more complex process for us was the capital events process. So where money is drawn and distributed to investors, involving coordination across a lot of different teams, time zones and systems. And it's a larger effort, but central to our business. So what's the most natural kind of initial use case candidate here? Usually the argument to start simple comes from not investing too much before we know if it's going to work out well. That's a solid argument. You all heard it before, probably. I'm not saying it's wrong, but we agreed to instead run a pilot with a more complex process with higher stakes. And after having transformed that process into a workflow and onboarded all the involved teams, the initial feedback from the people that were involved was positive. So from an adoption point of view, that did give us, I believe, an early adoption boost. So the learning here for us was that, like, starting with a well-known business critical use case, core to our business or central, that helps drive that kind of early initial organic interest and buy-in for our products. Because of the use case being central to what we do, it also meant that central teams, both within the business and tech, became aware of what we could do. We were off to a good start. What else did we do? Buzz was now getting stronger within a big part of our company because of the centricity of that initial use case. Fund operations, which is a big part of our company. The next challenge was scaling adoption, not only within that part of the organization, but across additional business lines, kind of test it out with additional user groups. And first thing was going live with the champion use case. What we did then was we performed internal marketing. We did implement strong feedback loops, and we worked with champion users. We gamified to engage, and we transitioned to a self-service strategy and established a community. I'll go through each of these kind of areas, what we did in every area. And as I do, I think it's good if you can think for yourself how you can apply any of these actions to boost adoption in your products. Starting with the champion use case that I briefly went through already, reiterating the takeaways here is central and kind of business critical use case meant more attention within central parts of the organization. One flagship use case kind of created buzz, paved the way for many more to follow. And it had the demonstration effect. Like, if it can handle that process, it can likely handle this process too. So that was one of the values of opting for the more complex kind of process as a pilot. And due to the successful launch of the central use case, we now got users and stakeholders marketing a little bit for us. But what we did is to sustain this kind of adoption momentum, I would say, is we marketed internally. We shared wins publicly, posting success stories and process efficiency metrics as well. So kind of the outcome with what was happening in our products. We posted that in our internal communication tools. So be it like Slack or Teams or whatever you use, and also during demonstrations. So sharing wins, but also using data to really highlight the kind of business outcome. What is the value of what we are doing? Leadership endorsements, securing leadership endorsements. So seniors people in the firm, of course, mentioning successes in shared form, conferences and updates, that adds a little bit of credibility, of course, and it signals that this initiative was important. That incentivized maybe others to find out more for some people. But then storytelling, huge part of it, not just communicating features being released or metrics as well for that matter, but rather focusing on how something was improved for someone and emphasizing the why. Another thing we did here was that we invited users to influence the product journey, building what they actually needed and what brought the most value. So we implemented strong feedback loops. It's a bit of a no-brainer, but I can't leave it out. A luxury of internal product UX is that you have access to basically all of your users. Or I'm not sure that's the case for everyone, but for us it really is, and even physical access to most of them. So one thing that helped us was not being afraid to simply reach out to anyone relevant. Don't forget that users working at the same firm have a built-in incentive to contribute. It long-term not only helps them and kind of us, if you will, but our firm, right? We held interviews and feedback sessions, super important to understand, of course, what's working well or isn't. We use activity data to understand whom to speak to and what to ask, that we then get from the kind of process platform. And we did survey sendouts asking masses for feedback, kind of collecting these scores, NPS and CSAT, serving as a prioritization aid. Learning here is that we have much higher response rates when we send these forms out in kind of our internal communication tools where you chat with people. So like Slack as opposed to email, for instance. A fourth one that I kind of like is public gratefulness. We communicate when something new has been implemented that was based on feedback. Sometimes when doing that, we thank the people that were involved publicly. I think this is very important that users that give us feedback understand the impact it makes. It does, I believe, increase the chance to get more valuable feedback ahead. It's very motivating. Like it's saying, we heard you, and it builds a kind of it's a two-way communication that builds trust, essentially. I talked about how a champion use case was beneficial for us, but this is also applicable for our users as well. So champion users, we first identify this, going through a mix of analyzing product activity data, but also observing generally enthusiastic behavior. So early adopters are users that lean in, they provide a lot of feedback and thoughts, they are excited to be part of whatever you're building or using it. So we found them, and then we started, like, what we did was often coming back to these users, asking for feedback about larger features, ensuring they know about what's new. If someone is interested and want to influence the product direction, we don't feel that we deserve them. So it's very easy reaching out. It's like partnering up to influence the product that is here for the users, right? These champions, they then become trusted team interfaces to their teams or other parts of the organization where they are more likely to spread what they know further. And it also comes with a high credibility. It's someone that they trust and know and work with every day, not from someone like showing up and like trying to sell something. Something else that led to spreading the word further is gamification. This is something I would encourage you to use. This is, I think, an area that is somewhat agnostic to if it's internal, external, or the product you have. So for starters, tapping into kind of a friendly competition can drive engagement by adding a bit of fun. When using gamification, we wanted to drive with the carrots over sticks, of course, to prevent shaming. Like if you implement a leaderboard and you include the bottom results, those teams or users could have a negative experience instead. Like, why are we even here? Why we don't want to like show everyone how bad we are at something, right? So a way we circumvent that is to only show the top performers or the top performing teams. Wins over losses, basically. We also enable success sharing. One thing that can help drive adoption using gamification is to enable sharing successes. So Linda, developer in our team, she came up with this great idea to implement a Your Year Wrapped. You've probably seen it in Spotify, inspired by our neighbor. They actually work just next door in our physical space, and turning data into a celebratory summary with key process and usage metric for each user. That's a reusable pattern for most products. YouTube also does this for content creators, and since you get what's relevant to you, there is no shaming involved. What we saw was that when these metrics looked good, like we achieved business outcomes with this product. Our team was great. We kind of increased efficiency or whatever it was. They would share it outside the platform. So organically increasing awareness of not just the product, but the values you get with the product. Users themselves are now sharing success metrics like efficiency gains or the use of automations made possible by the product. So that, I think, is very powerful. Another interesting one is celebrating others' successes. So when you want something done by a lot of parties, this is a strategy we've used to drive progress. Occasionally, sharing what other teams have done. Like when another team has done something great and you share that, it can spark the kind of I want in mentality a little bit for the teams lagging behind, again, without shaming anyone. An example where we used this was when it came to ownership and governance, where we wanted to capture data on process ownership. Like this team now has 100% tech representation ownership of their process in our tool. Like it was there, but it wasn't captured. And like just putting the word out there, not blaming other teams, focusing on the positive, but at the same time, it sparks a little bit of extra appeal for other teams to also have their ownership data in place, stepping into the spotlight. It's a small one, but likely has some positive effects. Self-service and community. So lastly, an area where we are currently targeting our efforts is that we started building our platform. We also build process for everyone. Kind of control. We wanted to quality control the content. It's very important that those initial that the initial content is good. So what was good about that was quality control. What was bad was that we also made ourselves a bottleneck. Our product strategy shifted from we hold your hands until everything works great to we enable you to serve yourself. This shift in mindset has helped with ownership and continuous improvement. You build something from the ground up in our product. It's your baby, you care for it, like from our user's point of view. And hand in hand with self-service, we started a community, inviting users that showed their interest to a channel where users help each other out. Belonging to a product community, users are likely to feel a little bit more connected and invested in our product success, since they now contribute and influence. And as a bonus, we reduce our support burden, which becomes decentralized as people help each other out. So as you can see, there are a lot of strategies to boost adoption. Perhaps you notice a common theme for our strategies was to create pull, making people want to use our product by understanding the value gains for themselves and through excitement instead of forcing users to do something. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, scaling adoption. We faced challenges along the way that we have some learning from that I want to share with you as well. So there were for sure early usability hurdles with our blend strategy. We were met with change resistance. We also had content ownership challenges. So what that was we MacGyvered our workflow MVP, right? A long-term adoption barrier with blend strategy was usability. Things were functional, which was great to prove the value and kind of get early traction, but it wasn't the perfect long-term fit because it was limited by the constraints of that bot system that we repurposed. Over time, we gradually built all we needed in one platform, improving the user experience as we progressed. Resistance to change, like habits die hard. Even with a great new solution in place, some folks kept doing things the old ways with emails and spreadsheets. Still doing it, some, of course. Beyond training, we provided training sessions and user guidelines kind of early on, but that, of course, was not alone, or that was a discovery we made. Like to overcome habits, trainings are not enough. People don't change because they are shown how. They need to understand what's in it for them. Or maybe even a small tweak is like also feel maybe a little bit of peer pressure or excitement to try it out so that you can understand or see what's in it for you or for them. So that's where employing all the strategies I went through before helped. It's not enough to win minds logically through clear benefits, but also hearts. Like you have to try to win them emotionally through stories, a sense of missing out on things that can help you to help overcome change resistance. The last one challenge area, or there were more challenges than this, to be honest, but these are some of the ones I picked, like content ownership issues. In our case, process ownership. No clear owner, we could see bad adoption. Processes or in general content without clear responsible owners tends to stagnate in our product. Because the content that is created are things that live, like it's a process, people work in them. We started capturing ownership, even though ownership was clear, that wasn't enough. So like, can't we just enforce ownership? When that happened, for example, someone was allocated a process because it touched their domain, which could be a reasonable chain of thought, right? But that data tells us that those workflows struggle to get traction or even increase in efficiency. It became kind of a lukewarm check-the-box duty rather than a mission for that team. In contrast, when whoever is accountable has a genuine stake and kind of is involved in building what's needed, shaping the direction, along with the users that are going to use it, then productivity gains were significantly stronger. Instead of a top-down approach, so kind of find these champions that will continuously improve their processes on their own because they care. The bigger insight here is that passion can't be forced. If you need an initiative to succeed, find these people that care rather than relying on org charts to kind of decide owners or champions. We went through a lot now. Before dropping the mic, I just quickly want to summarize our adoption strategies here. So we started off with kind of being able to hit the ground running with an MVP through a blend solution rather than buy versus build. Means faster MVP launch. Starting with a well-known business-critical use case, a champion use case, helped drive early organic interest and buy-in for our product, the demonstration effect. We sustained adoption momentum through internal marketing by sharing success stories, getting leadership endorsements, and using storytelling to highlight the why and impact behind product iterations. So like sustaining that adoption momentum. We implemented strong feedback loops beyond the basics that I think some of you are already familiar with, includes like publicly displaying gratefulness to everyone contributing with feedback. That made an impact to encourage even more feedback and engagement. We found our champion users by analyzing activity data and looking out for lean-in behavior and earlier adopters. Then we kept their engagement up. These users are likely to spread what they know further. And gamification, sharing wins increases success awareness. So we use gamification and enable users sharing wins, with an example being Your Year Wrapped, where personal success metrics are turned into celebrations, driving engagement and excitement. And I think that the first time I saw that was in Spotify, and I think it's really clever. I think that's a pattern that can be repurposed for most applications where you have some kind of outcome. Lastly, we shifted our product strategy to self-service, bringing stronger content ownership and care as users now create what they need themselves. Building a community as a bonus, it also reduced our operational support burden since users help each other out. But our fancy tech would have meant little without these engagement strategies. Tools alone, of course, don't guarantee adoption. It's people that do. And by focusing on these strategies related to humans, not just fancy tech or buzzworthy features, we successfully scaled our product adoption from an MVP to enterprise-wide adoption. I hope these insights give you some ideas to boost adoption in your own products or initiatives. And if not, maybe at least spark some curiosity to explore workflow solutions for your processes. I'd love to answer any questions to hear about your experiences with scaling products internally. And if you don't have the time to raise that question now or talk about your experiences, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Reach out if you want to continue the conversation. Or deep dive into anything of what I went through. Very happy to share. I've also added a link to learn more about how we at EQT work if you want to learn more about us and explore our open positions. Thank you for listening and for being here today. And thanks for having me, Product People.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Jonathan. That was a lovely session, and thank you to all the audience as well for staying along, staying with us until the end, and staying through the disruption that we had, minor one in the middle. Now, on a note to that, this session is recorded and is available on LinkedIn, on YouTube. So if anybody wants to go back and have a rerun and look through it again, feel free to visit our YouTube page or look at the LinkedIn recording as well. That will be available later as well. All right, awesome. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll jump into the Q&A session, and we'll have to go through this a bit quickly. On the screen, you'll see the QR code for Slido and the code as well for the Q&A session. Before we jump into the Q&A session, I will spend a few minutes to talk about product people as well and some of the use cases where product people can be engaged. In the meantime, please feel free to leave in your questions. We will be going over to the Q&A session towards the end of the presentation as well. All right. To feed in your questions to give us, please scan the QR code or go to the website and enter the code there. All right. Now, a bit about product people and a bit about the use cases where you can engage us. Now, product people essentially is an interim product management service. We cover product managers, product owners during parental leaves, and during, let's say, temporary covering permanent positions while organizations are hiring, or if they have urgent initiatives that they need expertise and industry experience on. Now, with us, you can get temporary help to drive product discovery, delivery for a deadline, and even create impact in a short amount of time. Not only product management, the services that we do offer are encompass program management, product operations, and this can also include upskilling your own internal teams or even streamlining and revamping internal processes or programs as well. Other than that, there is transformation acceleration as well. So if your organization wants to make a shift from how they were doing things before into how they want to do things in the future, that is where product management industry expertise can come in via product people as well. Or if you want to simply reconfigure your strategy, have a rethought about your team structure, set up a new kind of an organization, learn how to do that as well, that's where we can come in. In terms of clients, in terms of the clients that we have served, in terms of B2C, we've looked at, or rather, we've collaborated with eBay, Blinkist, Freeletics, within the B2C realm, even Free Now. If you're familiar with any of these organizations, they have been our clients in the past. For B2B, we've worked with people like the World Health Organization, Eterno, Ometria is also some of our B2B clients as well. Looking at some of the statistics within our organization, we have served 690 plus cross-functional teams that range across more than 100 clients. They go from Series A startups all the way to publicly listed companies as well. In-house, we staff 40 product managers and product leaders, and we ensure a very strong career development path for our team members as well. Therefore, you get a very, very high quality of service. Something that is a bit of a favorite of mine, something close to my heart, 59% of the team are women, and of the leadership team as well, 60% of them are women. So we have a very strong bias to promote from within our firm and attract across the industry, where we have a ethos to look at skills before the CVs in our hiring process. Now, looking at the time, I will quickly bring up the Q&A as well. I would encourage everybody, if we don't have any questions yet, just bring them in. This is the time. We have Jonathan with us to let us know what you're thinking. And we do have a couple of questions. I will read them out over here now. And all right, so the first question that we have, when deciding between buying or building, how do you identify which parts of the workflow platform should be built in-house versus reused from existing solutions?
So we did have a ticketing system in place. I can speak from that specific product, like the workflow tool. That internal ticketing system that we already had was used for quite some time. It was adopted, so we didn't have to kind of procure anything new. It was already in place, and it solved some of the kind of product requirements that we had already when it came to communication. So like threading support, messaging, communication, notifications, things that would take quite some time to build. So that's maybe one thing that went into that decision, like how big are these things if we need to kind of build it ourselves versus how quickly can we just use what we already have to get the MVP up. But then it was like, I guess also a user group question, kind of building so in that system, we also looked like, can we just kind of initiate process or workflows directly from this tool? They had this kind of portal functionality, for instance, already in place, but we thought that it wasn't intuitive enough based on discussions we had with end users. So we said, okay, this part we'll kind of reinvent a much better version of, but then reuse part of that communication in the background. I will, however, say, like, it also ties to one of the challenges ahead that we ran into. Like, you cannot trying to get everything to fit in to this blend strategy. It is a difficult question. There is, of course, no kind of this is the right answer to a question like that, because but some limitations we had, for instance, is we encountered a bit into it, like, you know, one team is assigned at a time when you have a ticket in Sender, like you have a kind of for tech support errands and similar things. And but we have communication with a lot of teams and sometimes in parallel. So how do we solve that from kind of who gets assigned and have access? That was when we started to feel like when processes grew as well, the kind of, okay, this is the time to kind of break out from that bot system as well, limited by constraints of that bot system, essentially. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. We'll take one to two, maybe two more questions. Looking at the time, you noted the importance of feedback loops. How did you practically set those up without overwhelming users or slowing down the rollout?
Yeah. So what we didn't implement, but that we kind of will maybe answer now to do earlier, is to implement a way of giving feedback straight away related to specific activities. We did always have that kind of widget, if you will, early on. We said that people need to be able to just kind of signal how things are working out in the tool from the platform itself. That was one. But then we scheduled interview sessions. We look at kind of process activity data, find people that work a lot, do repeated kind of actions, and basically do what we thought it was intended to how it was intended to be used. So that was a way to find the champion users. With those, we implemented we had recurring interviews, but then likewise, you can see when things go terribly wrong or like used in ways that you didn't know were possible. That's also a way to kind of find relevant users to talk to, and we would schedule interviews with these people and follow up to kind of continuously get feedback from people in various user groups. So that's one way. But then also we sent out service recurringly with different ways to kind of get scores on different topics and see are we kind of heading in the right direction here or not when it comes to how people perceive things, like intuitive it is or easy to find, or like so yeah.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. I think we'll take just the last question now. How long did it take how long would it typically take from idea to MVP and from MVP to company-wide adoption?
So
how large was the team working on?
I can't say typically take, because it of course depends on the product, the problems you're trying to solve, and what you're building essentially. But for us, like from the idea until we had something functional where teams were working, was all rolled out over the course of like something like 6 months, I would say, for us. And then as it took a couple of years until we reached kind of enterprise-wide adoption. But say, 3 years, something like that. The team that has been working on this product has also shifted a little bit in size, like growing basically, not linearly with the product, but still. Today the team is a size of 7 in total, so not only including engineers.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. All right, so for all the questions that we were unable to answer, I would encourage everyone to leave them in the comment sections of their respective platform with which you're viewing from, and we can address them in the future as well. And Also, yes, you can feel free to reach out to Jonathan directly as well through the contact details that he's left. All right. Well, we will be wrapping up soon. And for that, I would just like to make my ending notes. Number one, at Product People, we are hiring. So you can work hands on to help other clients discover and deliver great products. So if you would like be interested in being a part of our recruitment pipelines, you want to have a jab at the recruitment process, the QR code on the left should take you to our hiring page, our careers page. We are hiring for associate PMs and also PM consultants. Um, and if you would like to subscribe to our newsletter, it's a weekly newsletter. This is some of the best reads I've personally had across the week. You can scan the code on the right to subscribe to the newsletter as well. Now, what's coming next week? So, next week, we are going to be talking to Freddie Friedman, the CPO at Resourcify. And Freddie's going to be talking about utilizing generative AI for bigger impact on product development. It's going to be same time next week, and we would love to see you there as well. And all right, final ending notes. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Thank you to the audience as well. Thank you everyone for being here and listening in. And all the best for the rest of the week. I hope you have an amazing week, and see you next week. Then. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.